Hello once again, everybody. Welcome back. Good to see you all. It's Jeff. I'm here again with another video tutorial. This time you're going to learn how to animate your sprites. I've been excited to see all your sprites coming in. They're looking great so far as they roll in. So open up your sprites and let's get animating. So we're back where we left off. We have our sprite ready. We're sent into our account in piscalapp.com and we're ready to go. And we want to make an animation for our sprite. So we want to make some kind of walk cycle so we can see our sprite walking when we control it in the game, and maybe some other kind of action for it to do at certain times in our video game. So let's get started with animation. So the first place to pay attention is going to be right over here, which is known as your preview window. So that's where you're going to see all the animation that's going to happen that you're creating. You're going to watch it in preview in this window. That's why it's called the preview window. So your sprite looks really tiny, or it might look really tiny, so you're going to need to click here, and that's where you can make the scale 6 times scale. So go from 1 time to 6 times. So you can see it taking up the whole window there. Okay, so this is where all your animation is going to preview. So in animation, we create what are called frames. And frames are the pictures that make up an animation. They play at a certain speed, one after another, and they make up an animation, a movement of a character. And the frames are going to be right over here on the left, and that's where all your frames are going to appear. You actually already have one frame here, which is the sprite that you made, is actually your first frame. So to make another frame, you just click there, add new frame, and you'll make another one. So you now actually have an animation. And it just looks like your sprite is just blinking on and off because your second frame is actually blank. It's completely empty. So what your animation looks like in your preview window is just a blinking sprite. So let's get rid of that by deleting frame. And we're going to click now duplicate frame. That's a much easier way to start your animation, is to just make another copy of the one you already made and to change a part of it. That's the main way we're going to make most of our animation. Duplicating a frame and then changing a little part of it. So that's what we're going to do when we make this very first animation that we're going to make. We're going to do a really quick one, and we're going to use all our tools like our eyedropper. So I'm just going to change something to make him blink. I'm going to make this guy blink really fast. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to sample his skin tone, and I'm going to just draw it with the pen tool right over his eyes. And now if you look in your preview window, we already have an animation. Our character's blinking. And you can see he's blinking, blinking, blinking. And the next tool we're going to talk about is right here. It's the slider. FPS is what it says right there. And FPS means frames per second, which is just the speed that your animation is playing at. So if you want to change the speed that you're seeing to make it look more like you want it to look, just slide that slider around. See, now it's going really fast. He looks super goofy. He's blinking way too fast. Now he's not blinking at all at 0 FPS. So let's make it like 1 FPS. Now let's make it 2, 3. Yeah. 2's good. Okay, so now he's blinking at a good speed. We have an animation. We have 2 frames. And now that you have these frames, you can go click back and forth in them and edit them. And you can change the frames of your animation. So let's change it. Let's make him actually wink instead of blinking. Let's make him wink. So the way we're going to do that, you could probably guess. I'm going to take the pen, and I'm just going to put back one of his eyes. And now the blink becomes a wink. So there you go. You can quickly start making animations, changing and editing them. But let's delete that one. And so that's your copy frame, your duplicate frame. This is move frame. So you can move them around if you want them to come in a different order, because you can make as many frames as you want. You might want to reorder them. So that's how you move them. You just drag them. Let's make a walk cycle. It's walk cycle time. All right, so let's get started. How are we going to make our sprite walk? So we've duplicated our frame. We have 2 frames. We're working in the second frame. And we're going to do what I said before. You duplicate a frame, and then you change part of it. That's the main way to animate. So we have a good pen size. I'm actually just going to start by erasing one of my sprite's arms. Just erasing the arm. You can see in the preview window, it just looks like the animation is his arm disappearing over and over again. But let's redraw his arm in a different position so we can start to create what looks like a walk. Now, I need something to help me here. I would love to be able to see where his arm used to be. So I'm going to click on this onion skin tool, and you can see this kind of ghost image, this transparent picture of the arm in the previous frame. So that's where that arm is, and now I can kind of see where it starts, and I can draw a new arm that's the same length, because I can see how long my previous arm was. And I can look in my preview window, and look, it's already starting to look like an arm swinging to the side as he would walk. So, yep, I'm using my eyedropper tool to get the color of his hand, and I'm going to play around until I get a good hand shape. I'm looking back at my preview window to see if it looks any good. It still looks kind of goofy. Let's try to make it actually look like a hand that's like swinging to the side. I don't know. Sometimes you just have to play around until it looks right. And I think that looks pretty good. Yeah, check out your preview window. It looks like it's sort of swinging back when he moves his arm. And then the only thing that's missing is his, let's put in some shadow. So I use the eyedropper to get my darker blue and to get my lighter blue to put the highlight on there. And then he's still, I think he needs his button. So let's get that, let's just finish the shadow here real quick. And that looks good. Okay, and now we can do his button. Okay, so now if you look in the preview window, that looks pretty good. That actually looks like that arm is moving, kind of. Cool. Now we can, yeah, we can actually, so what you would do now is you would change his legs. You would erase one leg and then the other, and you would draw them kind of at a slant like that. And I'll show you the result of that later. But first, let's go over a different way that you can change things really quickly when you're animating. You can use the rectangle or lasso selection tool, and you can move a whole part of your sprite really quickly by selecting it. And you can remember to hold Shift button and then move it over, drag it 1 pixel over, click out. And now, if you look at that, suddenly he's moving his head forward when he's walking. So maybe he has a goofy walk where he moves his head forward. So that's a way to really quickly make a change in one of your frames. Maybe I don't like that. So Control Z, I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to move his head down instead. Maybe I want to see what it looks like when it, yeah, that's an even goofier. I kind of like that. So his head kind of goes down when he walks, maybe. So you can play around with that. Let's get the lasso selection tool, just so you can see another tool. And I'm going to select the bottom of his leg, and I'm going to hold Shift and move that selection up. So now he's like kind of tapping his toe or something, doing some kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's like a jazz age dance from the 1920s or something like that. He's tapping his foot to a jazz song. So I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Yeah, maybe it's like a faster song. Yeah, he's really grooving. Okay, so save. You have to save your sprite. Every time you make a change that you want to keep, make sure you save to your gallery. Make sure it's public, that's checked like it was before. Save to your gallery, and it's going to update your sprite with the animation in it. Go check it out in your gallery, and there it is. Yep, he's got that, his goofy little, whatever that is, dance. And, okay, what if I want to make another animation, but I don't want to see this frame anymore? If you click the number in the frame, it will become invisible. So then you can duplicate your frame again and start a whole new animation. So let's do a whole thing where his shoulders go up and down. So check out in the preview window, I made a totally new animation. And if I want to make that other frame visible again, I just click number 2 again, and I can see all 3 of my frames. Now he's doing, actually that's kind of cool. That's an even better dance. Yeah, it's like some kind of Charleston variation or something. So now I click number 2 again, and it goes back to my original animation, and I can keep switching between my different animations by clicking the frames, making them invisible, and don't forget to save. Okay, so you can constantly activate and deactivate your different frames depending on what you want to see. All right, and then check it out in the gallery. Let's look at this completed sprite. So this is what it looked like when I finished my walk cycle. Check it out in the preview window. That's what I ended up making. You can see when I click on that frame, I kind of just erased his arms and legs and redrew them in different places. I made his shoes kind of floppy, like they're hitting the pavement. I drew his arms kind of out to the side. And it looks like I actually forgot to draw his button on one of his arms, so I'm going to go fix that. Yeah, so, yep, there it is. That's his walk cycle that I made. And now if I deactivate the third frame and I make the second one visible, and you look in that preview window, and that's him laughing. So I was trying to make it look like he was laughing. So this other frame, you know, I kind of, I made his hat flop up, and I made his shoulders go up, and I made his knees kind of bend like that. So I just kind of moved things around until it looked like a laugh, and I gave him a blink, like you saw me do very early on. So there's his little laugh, his goofy little laugh. So he has two actions. He can walk, and he can laugh. Okay, and when he does all three, it just looks like another goofy dance. And when I finished that, I, of course, saved it to my gallery. Always save. But we're also going to want to export our sprite, but not as a PNG like we usually do. We want to do it as a GIF this time. So click GIF, and you can download at the size that you did, that you made it, 1x scale, and you can download again at 10x scale so that you have a big version and the small actual size version. Yeah, so let's just look at a few other sprites that I made animations for, just so you can get idea of some other kinds of animations. So we've got this guy, right? And remember to put that link in there. So here's another guy. I gave him a sneeze, so you can see the 3 different frames of his sneeze. Here's a house I made with a party going on in it. I just moved the shadows around. That's all I changed. There's the different frames of the shadows moving around. The house stays exactly the same. Oh, and the smokestack. I changed the, I made the smoke look like it was kind of coming out of the smokestack. You can see over there. And then the simplest one I did was my version of this hotel, where I just made the windows coming on and off on a loop. So I just turned some of the windows yellow, and then I turned them back to gray in the different frames. Oh, and here's my goofy dancing worm guy. So you can check him out, doing his little worm dance up in the corner there. Yeah, just to give you an idea of all the different stuff you can do. All right, and that's it. Thank you guys so much for following along once again. I can't wait to see all the cool animations you make. I will see some of you on office hours. Take care.